What's up, guys? So we're here today with another episode of our Agent Success podcast, and I thought I'd bring one of my partners on, Thomas Meza. Man, welcome.
What's going on?
One of the reasons, bro, I wanted to bring you on and interview is just, really, I've seen your journey with us, going from when you first started with us, you were balancing, like trying to transition out of your full-time career and make your way into real estate. And I know there were some obstacles there and some challenges there with getting in.
Absolutely.
And then now that you've been on the team and kind of going out, at this full-time, you're having a lot of success. Really showcasing your leadership skills. You've been able to help a lot of the agents on the team. So I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to kind of just talk about your journey, because I think there's a lot of people out there who are in that in-between stage, right, where they want to get into real estate and they have a job, but they don't want to leave the 9 to 5 because it's paying the bills, and it's a challenge, right? So let's start off by just telling me real quick, like, how long you've been in the business, and like what got you in wanting to do real estate first.
So it's definitely been a journey so far, I would say. But to start, I've been in the business for about a little over 2 years now. I've been licensed over 2 years. Initially, what got me into real estate, I was working in corporate America, had a 9 to 5, but I always felt like I was limited. And, I had one of my good friends who's a realtor. I seen his success, and I was just like, man, I've always felt like I just needed to do more. And, when I purchased my home, I had a great experience. I'm like, man, I could do this, right? And I think it took me going and actually purchasing my home to actually take that next step. And I started the classes and kind of just did that part-time as I was going to work. I was taking the classes like once or twice a week, still not really knowing like what was going to happen once I got my license, right? Little did I know the classes were probably the easiest part, right? I think everyone thinks you get licensed and you have instant success, but about 2 years. And then I started with another brokerage. Didn't really do much initially, when I first got my license there, and then we ended up linking up on Instagram and joined the team over here. So that's where I'm at right now, man.
Awesome, man. And I think what I noticed early on when I first met you, I was like, man, like, you have something about you, bro. Like, you carry yourself very well. You have like this leadership, to you. Like, what were you doing before? Were you like in management, stuff like that, or?
Yeah, man, I was actually in management, man. I actually worked for a retail store. I was in management for like the last probably 8 or 9 years. I was in retail for probably about 10 years or so. Started off, everywhere I was at, I always climbed up the ladder. I was supervising or management. But what I found is that everything I was doing, I always wanted to do more. Right? I was never happy with what I was doing. I always wanted to, grow within the company. And like I said, man, I always felt like I was limited, though. Right? I always felt like I was limited. I felt like I'd get to a certain level, and I never really felt satisfied. So. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
How much do you think the management stuff has helped you in your business today?
Man, honestly, I think everything, not just with management, but just, managing people, like in relationships, but I think also with managing my business, right? So coming into real estate, initially it was hard trying to balance the two, right? Because, you're working full time. What I felt like I was 1 foot in, my regular job, and one foot in here. So I felt like I was like, man, like, although I was seeing results part-time in real estate, I was still getting part-time results, right? But I think in terms of how much it's helped me, I think it's helped me tremendously, man. Honestly, just with routines and disciplines, managing my business, tracking my numbers, relationships, all those different things, I think that's all played a huge role in my success.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that. And you touched on having 1 foot in, one foot in over there at the other job, and then 1 foot in real estate. What was that like, man? What was going through your head when you were trying to make that transition? Like, what do you think led to you being able to like fully let go of your job and come in here? Because I know it took some time, and we've had many talks, and I was like, man, dude, once you go to this full time, I know you're gonna have a lot of success. But I'm sure there was some fear of trying to leave and all that stuff too, right?
Absolutely, bro. And I think you said it. I think it was letting go of that fear. Right. I felt like I knew that once I went full time that I would see the results that I was looking for. But it took me just letting go of that fear and just diving in, man, and just having faith in myself and just saying, hey, man, it's time to go to work. It's time to make that decision. And I think that, we talked about this before, right? Like, made the decision that this is what I'm doing now. Right? And man, I think at the end of the day, it was just, why am I doing it, right? I have 2 children, and it's personal to me. It's personal to me to do it for my family, for my kids, man. And, once I was able to actually get I guess get it together, it was a lot easier to make that decision, man.
I've seen that, man. And I remember when you hit me up and you're like, hey man, I quit my job. I was like, dude, like I know that was a big turning point for you, right?
It was.
Probably mentally, and then also being able to have more time in the business and stuff like that. Like, what did you feel at that point? Did you feel like some sense of relief at the same time, or fear and relief, or what do you think?
I felt like during that moment, it didn't hit me until like I was probably in like my first full month in real estate, right? I felt like I was just still on vacation from my regular job. But I think, initially, man, I was like, man, it's time to go. Right? Like there's no more check coming in every 2 weeks, right? Like it's time to get out there and start making some money and start closing some deals. But I think like the biggest thing, bro, is like, I started, this journey about 2 years ago, right? So it wasn't like I just jumped into it and had instant success. Like it took me laying down the foundation, creating, posts on social media, talking to my family, my friends, really putting myself out there. But, I didn't know what was going to happen next, man, but I knew that I wasn't going to fail. Like I'm a bet on myself, man, 100% of the time.
I like that, man. I like that mentality, right? It takes that tenacity, especially when you're trying to leave something and you have like the pressure of having kids and bills and a house and all that stuff.
Right.
That's something that's hard to let go of, but like you said, you have to put, that faith into yourself and bet on yourself. Because no one else is going to do it for you, right? As much as I try to say, let's go, Thomas, let's do it. It boils down to you at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So I like that. So I think just what I'm hearing is like that willpower to not fail and like to do what it takes. And that kind of leads into the next thing is doing what it takes, because one thing I noticed about you early on is we had a conversation of like, hey, strategy and stuff like that. And I said, dude, you need to go all in on social media, right? You need to put yourself out there. You need to start hitting up all your friends and family and start letting people know like this is your full gig now. And you are probably one of the few people that I've had that conversation with that actually did it, you know? And you started making videos and just putting yourself out there. And talk about that, like about that journey and maybe what you've learned, from putting yourself out there and stuff like that. Because a lot of agents fear putting themselves on the social media.
Yeah, but I think in general, people just, fear being in front of the camera, right? Or you're worried about, looking bad or what others going to think, right? These are all things that us as humans, we think about, right? But I think initially, man, I was like, man, like Enrique's like telling me to post on social, right? Then I seen you posting on social. I'm like, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to do it. So I started off, I still remember my first post, man. I must have recorded it like 30 or 40 times before I actually posted it, right? But I think, man, initially I was just like, you know what, I put my first one out, and then I seen the love and support I got from my friends, my family, even just strangers on social media, like other realtors and loan officers, right? Just wishing me luck on my journey and congratulating me on my license, because I think the first post I posted was about me getting my license and joining the team. But man, I think the biggest thing I learned was just do it. Like don't worry about what people think, just put it out there. And I think the biggest thing, man, is like we have information that people need, right? Like we have, there's things that we know, like, we're in our trainings every day, we're doing all these different things, we're out here in the market, just put it out there, right? Like, we're here to serve people. And I think that the more that I just focus on the value that I was putting out, and instead of just trying to chase a check, that's when I started to see the fruit of my labor kind of come back to me, man.
I love that, man. Just focus on the value that you're putting out, right? And then the checks eventually come, right? And the deals come.
Absolutely, man.
And I guess, what kind of results have you gotten from the social media? Because I know now, like, you've picked up a lot of momentum, right? It took some time, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think in terms of results from social media, not only have I been able to build relationships with other loan officers, other realtors, but also just clients, man, like people that I've never met before, kind of just, hey, I came across your page, like you seem really genuine in your conversation. I've picked up quite a few clients, through social media. Right now I'm working with like three active hot buyers right now. I picked up a listing from social media. And it's just crazy, man, to see, because we were kind of talking about this earlier today, is you don't realize that what's happening as you're starting to plant this seed and continue to water it, right? When I say water it, I mean, you're consistent with your posts, you're consistent with your follow-up or your interaction online. But the fact that like now my DMs are like, hey, I'm looking for a home, I came across your page, and that's mostly what I'm finding now. Right? And I think the biggest thing that I hear is that you seem genuine, right? And I always tell you guys this, is that I'm always going to be who I am, right?
Yeah.
I don't change, right? I'm dressed how I dress. I feel, how I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I go, and I think the biggest thing is I'm 100% me when I meet my clients.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the biggest thing is just providing that value, man, and just being educated, obviously, in the market and kind of what it takes to win. I think that's where I'm really seeing a lot of my return at, especially with social media and just in real life in general.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful, man. It's important today too of just trying to be who you are, right? Like obviously you did the work, you've got the experience, you've had management, leadership, training, but once you kind of establish some of those skills, now you just get to be you,
absolutely,
right? Instead of trying to be like some other agent or how they dress or walk or talk. I think that's one thing that I admire about you is that you show up as you, like you said, right?
All the time.
And from when we have conversations just one-on-one, and then I hear how you speak on social media, it's like the same person.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, he's trying to sound like somebody else, right?
Sure,
like
man,
it's not like that. And I think clients can sense that, right?
Absolutely.
They can sense when you're being real with them, when you're just genuinely trying to help them, when you're giving them advice, even if it's something that they don't want to hear, but they need to hear, right?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing too is we know, right?
Yeah.
Like we've met people and they're not who they are on social media. Like we can honestly say that, right? But I think the more genuine you are, right? And you want to be the same person you are, whether you're at work, and obviously we go out and have a good time and everything, right? But I think the biggest thing is I don't want to meet a client, while I'm on the clock technically, and then they see me out at a restaurant and I'm a completely different person.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be me, and I think the biggest thing is just always authentic with them as well.
Yeah.
Right? I'm straight up from the beginning. I'm honest about everything from the start, and I feel like they definitely connect with me because of that.
Love that, man. I think that's been a really big part of your success, man.
Absolutely.
So in closing, I guess what advice can you give to someone either who's just starting their journey or even someone who's maybe in that situation that where you were at, right? From going from full-time job, right? Is there any like tactical advice, maybe like how you manage your time or things that you focused on in the beginning to get you in transition over?
I think that there's quite a few things that you actually have to kind of think of, right? But I think the biggest thing is like, why are you doing this, right? Like, why are you starting this journey? I think that's the biggest thing. Like, not like, hey, just because I want to make money, right? But what are the deeper things behind it, right?
Yeah.
And like for me, a lot of it had to do with, family and creating, I guess a legacy for my family, right? I have an opportunity to truly do that in real estate.
Yeah.
But in terms of, what I did to prepare, and everyone's journey might be different, but for me, I was like, okay, financially, I need to make sure that, I have some funds set aside, right? And have emergency funds that I can, use for everyday life. And everyone's number is different.
Yeah.
Right? For me, I had a certain number that I needed to be at to truly feel comfortable. And I think the biggest thing is that, something that I probably would have done differently starting was, really take your time to interview different brokers or different teams that you might potentially be joining.
Yeah.
Right? I think that had I done that, I would have started off somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think maybe I would have, obviously showed up here maybe sooner.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we were the second company.
Second company.
Joined, right?
Yeah, second company. But prior to that, I had a couple conversations, but didn't really, didn't really go into it too deep. Start interviewing different teams, different brokerages, and then develop a business plan, right? Like have a business strategy, not just getting your license, but like, hey, what am I going to do once I have my license?
Yeah.
Right. How am I going to obtain clients? Right. How am I going to educate myself? Different things like that.
Yeah.
Right? Marketing, all those different things, but don't think too much about it. I think the biggest thing is just don't think, just do. Right.
Yeah.
We talk about it. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, man, is just think about your why and really just narrow it down and just say, hey, like if this is what I'm going to do, then just do it. Go for it. Go all in.
I like that, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's solid advice, man.
Yeah.
So thanks for being on, man. Congrats on all your success.
Absolutely.
I see you just continue to build that momentum, man, and it makes me feel good to see like from where you started now and seeing that transition, like it just makes it even that much more special, you know what I mean? Because I know what you had to go through.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of these intimate conversations.
For sure.
And now to see you out there killing it, and like, every other week I'm seeing Thomas on the leaderboard, right? Like he got a deal with contractor, you got this listing or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's cool, man, to see that success, brother. So congrats, man. Let's keep it going, man.
Right on, man. I appreciate it, Enrique. Man, thank you, man. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go, guys. Cool. See you later.